ready to crank up the volume because you're about to enter the realm of rebels and rock stars. Unleashing the thunder from down under the stage. We're diving deep with a deviance of melody, rhythm, and chaos. Now push up your sleeves and get ready to dive into the pit. It's time for Sitting with the Slimy Bastards, Music Edition.
So today's episode, Sitting with the Slimy Bastards, I met this guy down in New Orleans on the Sun Don't Shine Promise Song music video set. And we started chatting, and just a cool guy just to hang out with and talk music with. And I wanted to bring him on the show just because of his photography work that he did with these guys, along with some of the other ones in the music industry that we'll get into. But great guy. I'm pleased to have him on the show. And of course, Mr. Charles Dye of Charles Dye Photography down in New Orleans. Welcome to the Slimy Bastard podcast show.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate you having me on here, man. Been looking forward to it.
Yeah, you know, we were talking the other day on the phone, and we thought, God, it'd be kind of cool to get together and do something like this. And we talked a little bit about it down in New Orleans at that video shoot that we met each other at.
Right.
And so I was glad we could make it work.
Absolutely.
You know, what we were just talking, you're doing some stuff coming up. Why don't you get into this? This is pretty cool because you're going to be doing some stuff with Down coming up. Explain to what you got going on there with that.
Myself and a videographer named Mike Holderbees. He does quite a bit of work for Housecore Records, Down, the other bands they have on their label as well. We're going to be working on a new video concept for Down. Can't really go into a whole lot of details on it. It's going to be something completely different than what people are accustomed to. It's going to be a lighter side of the band. I'm not going to say lighthearted, but not quite as dark as they're accustomed to seeing. Really hometown. It's going to be a tribute to a great artist, and I think everybody's really going to enjoy this.
Yeah. You know what you were describing, and then you see them back out on the road again, and I'm looking forward to go seeing them in Vegas coming up.
Absolutely.
But, they sound great. I mean, I think personally, probably the best they've ever sounded.
Yeah, I think I have followed Down since the inception, and actually working with them now, it's a privilege. It's an honor to be associated with these type of artists. Their sound has definitely matured over the ages, and to be able to capture that and portray that, I want people to see in my images as if they were at the show, as if they can feel what the artist is trying to portray. And again, it's an honor just to be able to do that with them.
Yeah. So some of the stuff, if you guys seen the Sun Don't Shine new releases that they've done, you done the photo work for that. Along with when that new music video just dropped, you did a lot of photography for that. That's where I met you at, and just killer stuff. And I've actually used your photography on some of my TikToks that people
I appreciate
that I've been twisting, of adding my kind of flair to it, if you want to say, of
right.
But some of them photography ones of the still pictures and some of that is actually your work. So hats off to you, because you got some cool images.
Thank you, sir. Andrew Spalding, Corpse Paint Records, doing a great job out there with Sun Don't Shine. Promise Song just dropped a week or two ago. It's doing great, getting great feedback on it. These guys are going to make it. It's going to be a much larger band once the album drops. I think we're getting back together in June to do some more recording, and hopefully by the end of the year have a full-length album to release.
Yeah, and it sounds awesome. All the stuff that I've heard, and that new single itself is it's really,
and
really good.
I've heard people say this in multiple interviews. The Sun Don't Shine, if people aren't familiar, it's Johnny Kelly and Kenny Hickey from Typo Negative, and Kurt Winstein from Crowbar, and Todd Strange from Down.
Yeah.
It's a heavy metal supergroup, but it
Right.
doesn't sound like any of these bands prior. It's got its
Right.
own unique sound. Kenny's vocals are top notch on this. All the instrumentals are great, and just combined together, it's like a musical stew that just tastes great.
Right. And you hit it perfectly. I think Kenny sounds the best he's ever sounded,
Oh man,
honestly.
and in the typo years, you'd hear hits and pieces of his vocals, but
Hmm.
it's raging now. It sounds so good. I was in the sound booth whenever he was actually doing some of the recording, taking some photos of it, and to be that up close and personal with it and hearing that firsthand, I can't explain it. To be in the
Yeah.
same room with these guys that, I mean, honestly, I've listened to since I was in high school. And I'm not gonna say how old I am, but it's been a year or
Right.
two, and I'm standing in the same room, shaking hands, talking to these guys, and working with them. It's
Yep.
it's a dream come true.
Yeah. And that's what that's where I met you. I mean, for me, when I when I met you, honestly, it's probably one of the best um compliments I've received, that I was looking up to, like, holy shit, I'm way over my head being down here,
Absolutely.
kind kind of freaking out, and um when you came up to me and you said, "Oh, is this your equipment?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Right on, you got some nice stuff, da da da." And you could, I don't know if you knew, but I was shitting my pants, because I was
You pulled it off
see
well.
the same feeling you got, of like, I can't fuck this up, and yeah, it was a kind of a, like you said, a surreal moment for me personally, like what you said, because you grew up listening to these guys in high school and seeing them out on tours and just experiencing that growing up, and then to be doing something like um, you, you just got to pinch yourself sometimes.
And at that shoot at the Blue Nile in New Orleans, I was talking to Johnny Kelly, and I said, Johnny, as professional as I am in what I do, and as respectful as I am of the artist, I'm still a fan.
Yeah.
That's what got me into this. That's where I got started, was my love for music.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and says, we're all fans. That's why we all got started.
Yeah.
And that kind of brought that level down a little bit. To this is a human. I mean, they're
Yeah.
superstars, but this is a real person. This is a guy I'm
Yeah.
dealing with. And it brought
Yeah.
that human level into it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a fun day in itself. It was a good time, and
Absolutely.
uh, then to see it all come together and see the whole video out, just hats off to Mike who did that, because
Oh, he did a killer
it's a
job. He
it's a
always does.
yeah. Yep. But so what do you got coming up here?
Uh, Next month I'm heading out to Hell's Heroes in Houston, Metal Music Festival. I got a
Uh-huh.
couple bands I'm covering out there. There's a fairly well-known Texas metal group called Gamacide. They're doing a reunion show for this festival. I'm doing the video for them. Goat Horror is playing on Saturday. I'll be there with them as well. Um, I've got multiple shows in this area, which is New Orleans, Gulf Coast, Texas. I'll be traveling between Texas and Florida for the next few months, pretty much everywhere.
You did that actual photo shoot when Down played in New Mexico when they
I
represented
did.
all them. Yeah, if you see people that seen that stuff of those, because there's a lot of pictures on the Pantera fan sites and all that, and the Down fan sites of that was all the pictures you took of that event. You and I were talking about that because I seen them, and but just describe the feeling in the room that day, because that's actually a pretty cool story with what they got presented in that.
Let me tell you, I mean, that was an interesting event. And I'm not going to say concert or show. The whole thing was
Sure.
an event. Excuse me. We were asked to come out and cover the show for them, which was great. I was honored to do that. Um, The show was held at the Inn of the Mountain Gods, which is a Indian reservation casino at the Mescalero Indian Reservation in New Mexico. Hope I got all that. Hope I got that whole sentence right.
Yeah.
Um, this is literally a casino in the middle of almost nothing. The Indian reservation obviously is populated fairly well, but the surrounding area is vast desert. We stayed in Santa Fe, which was about 300 miles from the reservation. Drove through 300 miles of desert to get there. It was a great trip. I enjoyed it. We got there to the show, and I was kind of wondering what the crowd was going to be like. This was not a well populated area, not
Right.
heavily trafficked. But this place was packed, and it was packed full of down fans. You had people from Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, the whole surrounding area congregated into this casino to see one of the greatest heavy metal bands ever. They did have a meet and greet beforehand. The reservation president presented each member of the band with ceremonial blankets commemorating the show. Now, this show, I will say too, was postponed. It was a reassignment of a postponed show. The original show was scheduled a couple months earlier. Mescalero had actually caught on fire from wildfires.
Oh, okay.
So and the area was heavily damaged. So the actual concert had to be rescheduled to a later month. All the ticket sales were honored at this show, but Down did 2 fundraising shows for Mescalero, one in New Orleans, one in Baton Rouge. The New Orleans show, and the venue that it was held at, a place called Southport Hall. I do quite a bit of work there. They announced online that there was going to be a huge show announcement. And I was talking to my wife that evening. I was like, Down just canceled. They're all at home, which is New Orleans. They've got nothing to do. I wonder. So I contacted the manager for Southport, and I said, "Hey, can you give me a hint?" He said, "I can't tell you what it is, but you kind of know what it is." They announced the show on Thursday, 2 days before. It was completely sold out within 24 hours.
No kidding.
One of the biggest crowds I've ever seen there. It was
Yeah.
absolutely wonderful. The next night they played at in Baton Rouge, and same story. The proceeds for these shows went to the Mescalero Indian tribe to help the recovery from the fires.
Yeah.
The rescheduled show is the one we actually attended. The feeling there was absolutely wonderful. The gratitude from the people of the reservation was wonderful. The reception there, I couldn't ask for anything better. I actually met a reservation photographer. He was working the show with me, Ivan Namastea, and he and I were talking mid-show. He said, "Hey, what are you doing after the show?" I said, "Well, the show's going to be over at about 11:30. What you got in mind? Getting late. It's been a long day." And again, keep in mind this on an Indian reservation. He said, "My niece is having her coming of age ceremony up in the mountains. Would you like to attend? Be my guest?" I said, "Well, I said, show's over with at 11:30. It's probably gonna be midnight, 12:30 before we're finished. How long does this thing last?" He looks at me and said, 6 days. She's 3 days in
6
now.
days?
6 days. She was 3 days into her ceremony at that time. So we got finished, rode out, spent about 3 hours in the mountains in this beautiful ceremony that I'll probably never get to experience again.
Yeah.
And this is just part of that evening. Something that I would not have gotten to experience if I wasn't there with the band as well. And it's just it's things like that that make all of what we do worthwhile. It's hard to explain. It's something that reaches your heart down deep. But that's what
Yeah.
music does. It brings
Yeah.
these people together, people you would never imagine being in the
Sure.
same room and just brought together by a simple sound.
Yeah. Yeah. Just that simple note, or
Yeah,
in some cases, not so simple, but
that camaraderie. It's
yeah.
you kind of. I'm not going to get too far off track, but I do have to explain to people all the time. I'm a heavy metal photographer. That's mainly what I do.
Yeah.
I do weddings and family portraits and all this other kind of fun stuff, but my heart is in the metal community.
Sure.
Um, Outsiders looking in see these people, and the black clothes and the tattoos and the hair and the attitudes, and they get afraid of it. These are some of the absolute best people you can ever speak to in your life.
Sure.
Their
Yep.
hearts are wide open. They accept you for who you are. Um, it's hard to explain until you've experienced it. I've
Yeah.
covered country shows. I've covered Zydeco. Again, being in Louisiana, we have Zydeco down here. Hip hop shows, regular rock shows. Nothing compares to the metal community. And I say it's a community because everybody joins together to get a common task accomplished. And it's just such an honor to be able to work with these people.
You say it perfectly, because you're down in New Orleans, and I want to hit on this for a second, because if you stop and think, well, I mean, stop and think of just that sound, that New Orleans, I should say, New Orleans metal type sound, I would say, um, has come out of there, and
Absolutely.
just all really, um, Seattle had that scene, right?
Right.
I would say this would be that moment for, as a metal genre, of just that sound that just solely came out of New Orleans, if you wanted to be real technical about it. Because if you got down to the
Absolutely it
roots of it,
does.
you got, and speaking of Acid Bath, who just got back together, that actually was announced when we were doing that music video shoot
Right.
down there, because we were all talking about it, like, holy shit, it's like breaking news. Everybody started, their phones started going off. And
Yep.
but anyway, but you take, like Acid Bath, Pepper Keenan, just in Corrosion of Conformity, and then of course Down, and then really, I would say that sound. I mean, you got the Kurt Cobain of Seattle, right? Who's like the
Yeah.
god of it all. I would say almost Phil Samo is that guy for that New Orleans scene. Would you agree with
He's
that?
a good representation for it. Absolutely. Um, you've got Pantera, which was, I would say half New Orleans, half Texas. Good
Yeah.
split there. Crowbar, Down, Exhorter, Acid Bath, Soylent Green, Goat Whore. I mean,
Yeah.
we have got such a pool of great music here. And that's just in one genre. I mean, we've got obviously blues and Zydeco and,
Right. Yeah, I'm
all
just
the
talking
great
just
things here.
just in the metal. If you take the metal scene, the
Oh, yeah.
metal, just that genre of metal, that's would be, you know, I'd say Phil Samo, if not Kurt of Crowbar.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've done extensive work with Kurt. I cannot ask for a nicer guy, a better friend.
Yeah,
Um, about as down to earth as he could possibly get. Um, it's always a joy to work with him, to be around him, to hear the stories. A while back, I covered his daughter's wedding, and he and I were standing around outside. We're talking music. We're talking about tour stories, and just the plethora of information that he's got, and I'm not gonna call them war stories, but the stories that he has on the road. It's amazing. We
yeah,
were together 3 weeks ago. He was talking about being with Motorhead, hanging out with Lemmy. This guy hung out with Lemmy.
yeah,
You can't ask for anything better than that. It's
yeah,
always a pleasure.
yeah. And he's just this short little guy, you know what I mean? Oh, he's like, he looks intimidating as hell
Oh yeah, yeah,
until
absolutely, does. No doubt.
you get up and you start talking to him, and then you're laughing your ass off, you know.
Yep,
But
yep.
Yeah, it was just a cool, yeah, like you said, a cool, down to earth guy, sit and
Absolutely.
shoot and have a beer with, and he knows everything. That's what's you could pick that guy's brain all fucking day.
All day long. And it's fun to do it. And he doesn't mind talking to you about it either.
Yeah. So, you know, speaking of which, you do weddings and all that.
Yeah.
What's the most, I want to ask you, what's the most bizarre wedding that when you got there and you started shooting and you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
All right. And she'll probably watch this podcast too, but I'm not gonna say I got there and said that, but leading up to the wedding, I had a bride contact me last year. As a matter of fact, I've done this for years. This is by far the most unique. Um, Bride contacted me last year, said, "Hey, we see your photography. Would love for you to cover our wedding." And I always cover with wedding parties that I need you to take a look at my work. My work is a little darker. It's colorful. It's not this bleached out
Yeah.
bright pictures. Um, I need you to make sure you're okay with my work. So they checked out my website and they said, "We love it. We want you to do it." Okay, give me some information about the wedding. Well, she said, "First of all, this is going to be a vampire wedding." Okay, we're in New Orleans. Vampires kind of goes together.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking gothic, long gowns, fangs,
Yeah.
the interview with the vampire type vampires.
Sure.
This was not. This was an actual bloodletting, blood sharing, normal dress.
You're shitting me.
I do have pictures of this, but it was one of the most interesting weddings I'd ever covered. Now, with all that said, it was not gory, it was not graphic.
Right.
They're both in the medical field, both very professional, um, both very sanitary. They did the IV, drained into a wine glass full of wine, and they shared that. Um, Extremely interesting. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, the wedding they had then was kind of like for friends and closer friends. We're doing their friends and family wedding next month here in Louisiana, and I've been hired to do that as well. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. It was a fun couple to work with. It was
Uh-huh.
uh, it was not what I expected, but it was exactly what I was told.
Yeah.
Um, that was probably the most unique wedding I'd ever done, and I can't wait to work with them again.
You know, speaking of someone off of the music scene here a little, well, I shouldn't say off the music scene, but because you just got done photo shooting his comedy show down there in New Orleans. Um, and remind me of again of the name because the name is different, if I believe, than the TikTok. Nick, is it? Go ahead.
Nick Harrison,
Yeah.
better known as Mr. Professor.
Yeah.
You kind of you hit on this whenever you did the interview with Todd and Tessa Strange.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah.
he takes classic rock and metal rock songs, turns them into yacht rock.
Yep.
Does a great job with it. Guy's hilarious. I'd actually worked with them last Saturday in New Orleans. They did a group comedy show. Completely killed it. This was one of the best comedy shows I've seen in a long time. Um, it was him, the dad bod vet. This is the guy that sits on his front porch. He kind of has like an old English voice with a long beard.
Yeah.
Slim Sherry, she's a Gen X advocate that pretty much just puts the truth out there. And uh, Terry Maino, which is completely hilarious. They did a show called the Gen X Takeover. If you get a chance, check it out on YouTube. It's wonderful. I did the video for that. That'll be
Okay.
released sooner or later. We're still putting everything together for that right now. But absolutely wonderful working with these guys.
Yeah. And it's cool because, like I said, I see his stuff on TikTok all the time, and that's why I brought it up. But it's funny you reached out right away. Hey, I know exactly who you're talking about, and then it's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
I'll be with them next week.
You know, do you ever see that Joey Bro running around down there? Isn't he
Oh
from
yeah.
down in
Yeah.
that area?
He was actually supposed to be cooking lunch for us on Sunday, but the weather kind of washed that out. I
Oh,
was looking
really?
forward to that, but it didn't get a
Oh,
chance to happen.
And that was down there in Louisiana.
It was in New
Okay.
Orleans.
Yeah. But no, it's so have you done any photo work for him then, or?
I have not. I haven't even met him yet, but it's
Oh,
in the
okay.
plans.
Yeah.
You know,
But
I'm.
I was just gonna say that, there's another one that um shit ton of followers, then you just have to laugh your ass off at some of it, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I make the comment all the time, hey, you need a smoke machine. If you
But
see
you know,
his
it's funny
videos,
talking to these all these guys off stage. They all made their mark on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. A couple years ago, they were not professional comedians. They just happened on this. It caught on. They got together. They said, "Hey, let's do a thing," and they did it. And they're
yeah,
making it. You know, and I'm one of the biggest advocates for pushing other people to do what you want to do.
right.
Um, if you have a dream, get out there and do it. You know,
Yeah.
my little background here. I've been a photographer for 30, 35 years. Again, I've done family portraits, weddings, corporate events, headshots for corporations. I've done all that. Pandemic came around. Nobody was doing anything. Nobody was working.
Oh,
Definitely nobody getting together for photo shoots.
sure.
So my wife, my better half,
Who
said,
who
"Look,
I got to meet down. Sorry to interrupt you, but
oh,
I
go
met
ahead."
her down in at the video shoot. Very, very nice lady.
She
Uh,
she is a trooper, man. She comes out to every show with me.
mhm,
She assists whatever I need to have done. She is my 100% biggest fan, and I love her for it.
yeah.
But we were sitting in the living room talking during pandemic. Both of us bored out of our brains, tired of day drinking, and
Yeah.
she said, "You know, you love music. You always have. These bands have nowhere to play. They're not doing anything. We're not doing anything." She said, "Why don't you reach out to a few of them and see if they'd be interested in doing something? Because everybody's just
Yeah.
bored shitless right now."
Yeah.
So I sent out 10 emails to 10 different groups. Said, "Hey guys, I'm a photographer. I'm local. I'd love to do something. You're not doing anything. I've got lenses. We can social distance if you want. You know, let's get
Yeah.
something going." I got 10 emails back saying, "Hey, when you want to do it?" So that got me into the entertainment world.
Uh-huh.
And covering one band led to covering another, covering to two more, to three more. And the network just started reaching.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked back from it. And to think that I
Um,
would ever be working with the caliber of artists that I'm working with now, it's incredible. Um, Again, I find myself very fortunate. I don't get big headed about it. You know, I've met a lot of people. I know a lot of people now. Um, I try to stay humble with it because it can all end tomorrow.
sure.
Um, I see so many people in my field that just don't simply enjoy what they're doing. They get out there for the assignment, they do what they have to do, they get the paycheck, and they go home.
Yeah.
I
No
do this.
interaction with anybody, and no,
No, I do
you
this
don't
for the
get
love of
enough.
the music.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if I would stop doing it if I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah. And that's the
Um,
same way on my, and not to interrupt you, I feel that when I get out to the racetrack in the summertime, and you and I kind of hit on this earlier when we were talking, but when I get out at the racetrack, that's the way how you, I mean, same way as the music, it's both ends for me. And it's
oh yeah,
nice because I'm kind of able to kind of separate both from each other at different seasons, if
right.
that makes sense.
Oh
So you're
yeah,
not doing the
absolutely.
consistent thing continuously. Otherwise, you eventually you just start going fucking stir crazy, right?
Right,
Because you're not enjoying it then because you're only covering just this.
right.
And with the racing for me, that's where that comes into play of, hey, then you, it just snowballs, like you said, and Yeah, I 100% agree with what you're saying there of how you feel on that.
You know,
Hey,
it's funny.
I wanted to ask you, what's your thoughts on with acid bath now?
Pardon me. I cannot wait.
Yeah,
I do have an assignment on the first show. I was fortunate enough to have a connection there. Um, I will be covering the first set on that Friday night. I've talked to Sammy. I've talked to Zach. This is a band that I have idolized for years.
yeah,
I've seen Dax live out of Acid Bath. Um, I, I don't have words for it, honestly, what that means to me.
yeah,
Um, you know, I've kind of get off tangent here, but a little bit, but I've told people back when I was younger, my teenage years, not always good for most teenagers. You know, you have good points and bad points.
yeah,
A lot of kids have this security blanket or a favorite animal or something else to kind of console them whenever they're not feeling 100%. I had music.
right. Yep.
I had lyrics. I had other people that understood how I was feeling. And that's what kept me going. Well, after a while, these bands fade away.
Yeah,
And now they're coming back.
yep,
And it's live and it's in my face. And I can't eat it up enough.
yep.
Um, I had the fortunate opportunity to cover Soylent Green on their reunion show. Um, this was last year. I was invited out to one of the practice sessions to cover the band as they were getting ready for the show 2 days later. Um, I was on stage with these guys. These are guys that I've listened to and just ate up the lyrics and the meaning of their music. And here I am working with them. It's like I shouldn't be here. This is not. I'm not ready for this.
Yep.
I think I did a good
I,
job, but it's just I try to stay so grounded and humble with these people because as you get to know these artists and you get to appreciate them more, you talk to them like we're talking now, and it's not about
right.
the music; it's about the person behind it.
Yep.
And we were talking to Ben with Goat Horde and Soylent Green about running into each other in Whole Foods. I mean, Trader Joe's one day. My wife saw him there, and it brings that human element back to these artists, and it's good to be able to relate to them on that level and to gain that respect from them. I
Yeah.
send them a text. I mean, text message. I send them a text message. I've got these people in my phone,
Yeah.
and that's not something I would ever have.
Right.
Uh, but to have that level of trust and camaraderie between them, that they know
Yep.
that I'm going to give them quality work and they can appreciate what I do. That's an honor.
And on the other side of that too, you be professional like you've been there before.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
and that,
Um,
where we got to hang out with these guys, with Johnny and Kenny and all them for those 3 days. I mean, um, coming in, me being a huge Typo fan, right? And and that's one of my favorite. That's my number one favorite album of all time. Me personally is Bloody Kisses.
right.
I mean, Christ, I don't know how many fucking copies I've owned of that record. Hey, off subject, off
We're gonna
subject
get
of,
another one.
yeah, off subject on this. Now, let me ask you this. So I'm going to tell you mine, and then I'll have you explain yours when I tell you this. But you have Dark Side of the Moon. Okay, probably one of the greatest albums of all time, right?
Right,
You can listen to that album from start to finish, no skipping it, because it just flows just amazing through that whole album, right? So in an interview with or no, yeah, I believe it was Roger Waters. He said, the quote was, I wish that I wasn't the first to hear it. I wanted to remember it like how, as a fan would hear it, because he didn't get the opportunity of with making it, right?
right.
And so with that, that album for me would be Bloody Kisses. Just that record that you don't forget the first time that you listened to it and you were just blown away, where you could listen through the whole thing without skipping a song. And just the brilliance of that record, or Dark Side of the Moon for a lot of people would be that Type O Negative, Bloody Kisses for me. So what would that album be and band for you?
Black Sabbath, Master of Reality.
Okay.
I don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
That was my introduction to heavy metal. I remember the first time I heard it. That opening coughing section of Sweet Leaf.
Yeah.
The whole album from top to bottom, I devoured. I'm not gonna say it's one of the most technically challenged albums out there, but it's one of the ones that,
Right.
that touched me closer than anything else.
Right. And
Still
that's what I'm
listen to it
asking
today.
for,
Right.
because we all have that one album that you would always go to, and that's what.
That was it. If I was on a desert island and I had one band in the world that I could ever listen to again, it'd be Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
When it's killing me, I can't go to England to see that one.
Yeah, that would be a huge thing, won't it?
Oh, yes.
Can you imagine
Absolutely.
all that, and honestly, there'd be almost so much chaos where on a professional side of things, like say, for example, they hired you to come out there to do photography or work, right? You probably wouldn't
Sign
even
me
be
up.
able to, yeah, of course you wouldn't turn it down, right? Who would?
Right.
But on the other side of that, imagine just all the fucking chaos behind it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You wouldn't have like what I would say, like obviously what it'd be like in New Orleans, right?
Right.
Just because of the notoriety of what's going on. To me, it wouldn't even. I wouldn't turn it down at all. But I just imagine all the fucking chaos with that.
Yeah.
Just was it a 1 day or is it a 2 day show thing?
One day.
Okay,
From what I understand right now, it's one day.
yeah. Well, they keep adding bands, so I didn't know if it was extended out
I
to.
know.
So, yeah. But
But you kind of hit on that just now, and I tell people all the time, being in New Orleans is like one of the largest small towns in the world. It's one
yeah,
big neighborhood. Everybody knows each other. Um, I'm one of the fairly well known photographers in the area. There's a handful of us that work together. We all
yeah,
have great respect for each other. Um, but I would much rather be a big fish in a small pond than the big fish in a large pond, or
yeah,
small fish in a large pond.
yeah,
Um, the clubs that I work with here, I have respect for them, mutual respect back from me.
yeah,
I try to credit them where I can and when I can. A
yeah,
lot of PR companies I work with, same thing. They get me into a lot of spaces that I normally wouldn't be able to get into. Um, Raquel Figlo, which is working with Corpus Paint, who does Sun Don't Shine and Root Brain, doing great things there. She's helped me out in my career immensely. Here, Split PR, which is Liz and David. I can't ask for better people from them. And they cover a lot of the downs and crowbars and bands of that type. They've got 200 something bands under their belt. I'll see how they keep up with it, but they do. But working with this caliber of corporations and people that support our genre of music, it's great to see it.
mm,
There for a long time, the metal community had, I'm not gonna say it diminished, but it slowed down a lot. And
yeah,
I'm feeling a resurgence of it coming back. History makes that circle all the time.
yeah,
I was at a session with Kenny Hickey talking about Type O, and he was telling a story how he and his wife were in the grocery store. Kid comes up to him and says, "Are you Kenny Hickey?" He said, "This kid couldn't have been 13 years old." He said, "Yeah." His man said, "I'm a huge fan of your music." And to see this resurgence of Type O music coming back out. And I asked him, is this what the band is seeing? Is this what you guys, as members representing Type O Negative, are seeing come about? And he said, yeah. He said, it's getting bigger now than ever before. And
yeah.
it's great to see it.
And I talked about that on my podcast with them guys. I mean, they're bigger, and it, I think obviously with Peter being gone, of course you're going to have that, right?
Right.
But in general, I think, and as a fan, as a diehard fan, if they were to do some reunion shows, and or shouldn't say even a reunion, or like a tribute to Peter
Right.
Steele, um, I would be the first on board with
Oh,
whoever,
absolutely.
honestly. People will bitch and moan, or you're just going to have that with everything. It wouldn't matter, but I love Johnny's idea of bringing in a female vocalist for it. I think that would be cool.
Oh yeah.
Um, and like you were saying, of these bands getting back together and doing this, for me, I mean, I wouldn't turn it down at all. And
And one of the biggest comebacks, reunion shows, tribute shows of the era right now is Pantera.
yeah,
I
yeah,
never thought I would ever see Pantera get back together,
yeah.
and Zach and Charlie are killing it. Um, I think,
And you're, not to interrupt you, but you're
oh,
right in the fucking area for that,
oh yeah,
because you've worked with Phil enough where you kind of know him a little bit. And
right.
like you said, to see that come to fruition, I was on board to begin with, just because I'm a diehard Zach Wild fan.
Right.
And so I wouldn't have turned it down at all. I mean, I thought it was great. And then when you heard it, I was like, holy shit, it's just like, you know, it's their way of playing, but in the Pantera, you know what I mean? And they're
Well,
killing it.
there was so much talk about the negativity of them getting back together, and people were cashing in, and just the haters that were out there. And then you see it, and it's like they've got Diamond Vinny on the kick drums. They've got the tribute shows. They're representing the band very well,
Yeah.
and I have so much respect for that and the way they're doing it. Um, if Typo wanted to get back together and do the same type of show, I don't think it'd be an issue. I think
No,
people would really enjoy it. They'd appreciate it. And I do think they would do it right.
no. Yeah, and that's the key thing. I think if they definitely are in for it, I don't think they're going to fuck around with just
Yeah.
some fly by night deal. It's going to be, and I so on the female vocal side of that, then it's like, huh, I wonder who would be a good fit for, something like that. My
Right.
mind starts running or wandering, who could this guy be, or gal should be,
That would take a lot of thought.
Yeah.
Peter
I
had that
mean,
haunting voice that it's hard to replicate.
yeah. The first one that come to mind for me was I can't think of her name off the top of my head, the lead singer, Lacuna Coil.
Oh yeah, Christy.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, she
Um,
would do great.
yeah. I mean, I think her vocals and everything would just match awesome with
Yep.
um Josh and the keyboards and everything. I think it'd be
Right.
awesome, honestly. Yeah.
It'd be a good time, and it's good to see these bands getting back together and doing stuff again. It kind of it brings me back to my younger days. I'm not saying I'm old, but I'm definitely not 13 again. I'm not 15 again.
Yep.
Um, but it brings me back to that time. And those were good times.
You know, uh, when we were at that video shoot, that was the first time we actually ourselves heard that song, the Promise
Yeah,
song. Um, I want your opinion. What'd you think the first time you heard it?
I loved it. It was. I've heard quite a bit of the recordings they've done. I've been at the recording sessions as they've
Yeah.
done it. Um, I was at that one whenever they were cutting it as well. Um, the level of professionalism that these guys have, the the wanting to make it good, the
Yep.
wanting to make it perfect. Um, I remember shooting the video. Johnny was getting frustrated because the recording track couldn't sync up to him hitting the kick drum for the first time.
Uh-huh.
Um, and we're all like, it's a video. We can edit it out. We can fix it. Don't worry about it. He said,
Yeah.
no, we got to get it right.
Yeah.
We're not recording the song. We're recording the video.
Right.
His sound was
Yeah.
already good. but
Yeah.
he wanted the look to be good too.
Yeah,
And
because he had his full kit set up for the
oh
whole
yeah,
thing, like it was the real thing and the
right.
kit looked awesome. I think
Oh,
he
it
said he
did.
hadn't played on it for what, 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
something like that. And I could be wrong, but just ballpark anyway.
But this was it was a raw video, hadn't been edited yet. The soundtrack hadn't been matched to it yet, but he wanted that look to be
Yeah.
spot on in that moment. And that was the first note, the first beat of the song. I love that. Most guys said, okay, we can fix it. Don't worry about it. He was like, no, we're going to get it right now. If we're going to do
Right.
it, it's going to be right. And I think they've done that. They've carried that attitude, all four of them, throughout the whole recording process. Is this is the way it's got to sound?
Yeah.
And each song that they've released has got its individual sound. It still sounds like each member of the band, but it doesn't sound like Typo Negative. It doesn't sound like Down. It doesn't sound like Crowbar.
No,
It sounds
not
like
and
Sundown Shine.
yeah, it doesn't sound like it. And people that hear it for the first time are like, "What the fuck?"
Oh,
Because they
absolutely.
either they're expecting something really, really hard, or that typo-ish, you know what I mean? That goth metal. I shouldn't
Right.
even really say goth, but
Well, the slowed
just
down
that,
tempo, the
right?
droned out. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
People need to go listen to it.
yeah, yeah. It's
Whatever media device or input that you use, be it Spotify, iTunes, whatever, get on there and listen to it.
how
He's
cool is Andrew Spalding? Speaking of which, I mean, this
a good
guy's
dude, man.
fucking. And I'm not
um,
trying to ask his here, because I know he'll probably be watching some of this, but um, he's just an all around good fucking guy, and I got to know on a personal level and that, and you know, uh, I'm happy to see this thing kind of take off with Root Brain
oh
and
yeah,
Sun Don't Shine. So it's going to be an interesting year for him, honestly.
it is. And Andrew's doing good things. It started out as a small company. It's getting a lot larger. I'm actually doing a lot more work for him now, which is I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to see it. I keep saying this, but I'm honored to be
Yeah,
working with this. For somebody that puts out a good product. There's,
yeah,
there's plenty of record companies I could go work for, um, but very few I believe in. I believe in what he's doing. I believe in his vision. I believe in the artists that he works with, and people he surrounds himself with. Um, there's a small group of us that are getting things done with it, and I think people hang on for the ride because it's going to be a wild one.
yeah. Yeah, it's cool to see it take off, and my hat's off to him just because it's been cool to see, especially from
Absolutely.
the kind of the beginning. When he first kind of got this thing rolling, I actually contacted him to do a podcast,
Okay.
and he was one of my very first, I think, first or second podcast in the music side of things that I ever did.
Cool.
Um,
Okay.
and so it's pretty cool to see. And but you said you're doing stuff now for them, and obviously that all ties together.
Right.
I can't imagine if Quiet Riot comes into town, you're probably going to do some stuff with them when they roll through, right?
Love
Speaking of
to.
which,
Love
uh
to.
I don't know, have you ever seen Quiet Riot lately?
Not lately. I saw him back in the '80s a few times. Um, I would love to cover Johnny playing with Quiet Riot. That'd be a
Well,
great opportunity.
that next weekend when we got done in Louisiana, I went up to that show in Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and with Quiet Riot and Slaughter.
Yep.
And I want to tell you, it was an awesome show. Hats off to them. I love the little thing in the middle that they do with each band. They represent each band.
Right.
Um, so I mean, they throw in their um, what they're known for in those bands, and
Yep.
then that's the first time I heard Black Number One live from a typo met. And I told Johnny this. I said, I could have watched that clip probably over 24 different times in that night, just because hearing Black Number One from a typo member for the first time in probably what 20 years, I'd
Right.
say. When was the last Jaeger tour? Was that? you-
Been a year or two.
Yeah, but I mean that was the last time I saw him personally.
Right.
And so I was like, holy shit, that's what made the night for me. But
And
they
that's one of
sounded
the things
awesome.
kind of brings me back to reality too. Is I'm a huge YouTube freak. I don't
Yeah,
even watch TV. I watch YouTube. Um, I'll put on the Black Number One video, and it's like I know these guys.
yeah,
I work with these guys, and it's just so surreal. You know,
yeah,
I get people asking me all the time how I got to the level that I'm at now, and the people that I'm working with. I give them three pieces of advice. Every photographer I talk to: turn out a quality product, be respectful of the artist, and don't be an asshole.
yeah,
Plain and simple.
yeah,
Um, you come across and I don't say come across, you need to be extremely professional with them and gain their respect. You can't go in telling them what you need and what you want, and you find out what they want.
sure.
I'm working with Andrew right now on some pictures we're going to be releasing for Sun Don't Shine for some promo stuff, and that's one of the first things we do is ask the artist, "What do you think about this?"
No,
Instead of just putting it out to the public and saying, "Hey, this is what you got." Um, and we get a lot of feedback from them on that, on what I need to do with my work, what I need to fine tune on. I would love to say that every shot that I take is an absolute killer, 100%. It's not. You know,
no,
any decent photographer out there that tells you that everything I take is right out of the camera, they're lying. Straight up lying. My stuff is
yeah,
edited, it is tweaked, it is fixed, it is turned upside down to make it look good for who I work for.
sure. You
And
know, I I'm gonna butt in just because, like,
sure,
I did that image of the one that you did of Kurt, and
yeah,
it's just that still shot of him with his head down, and I added in my stuff on it, and
loved it.
I thought it was a cool picture. It'd be a cool T-shirt, honestly.
Right. I absolutely love that. And I don't mind when people take my stuff and make it better. You
Yeah,
know, art is art, and art is interpretive. I see it one way, you see it another. As long as it looks good, it looks good. You know,
you got. And then speaking of which, I'm gonna do some of that with the shots you got of Phil and his Halloween stuff, if you don't mind, just because I
absolutely.
got some cool ideas with that. But,
Sure. That was a
yeah,
great opportunity. Kind of getting onto that story. Working with these guys for years now, Philip has a Halloween party every year. He puts on a haunted house. He's used to own the House of Shock with another friend of mine, Jay Gracianet. Um, and every year my wife was like, I wonder if we're gonna be invited out to Phil's this year. I don't know, we'll see. Year goes by and no. Last year, I'm sitting at home. My wife asked me, I wonder if we're gonna get invited to Phil's this year. I don't know. Party's Friday night. This is Thursday. Probably not. I get a text about 2:30 in the afternoon. Said, "Hey, y'all coming out to the house tonight?" Yeah, I am. So and fortunately he lives in our area. He's probably about 20
yeah,
miles from where we're at.
uh,
Um, so we headed out there. Got to hang out at the lair, which is the practice area for all the housecore bands.
uh,
Um, it was such a great experience. I've worked with Philip and the guys professionally, on stage, behind stage, um, just doing concert work. But to meet them one on one, off stage, to get them
yeah,
to know these people as the people.
right,
He's one of the biggest kids I've ever met when it comes to the Halloween props. He's
yeah,
we get a personalized tour from Philip through the haunt, and it was myself, Mike Holderbees, and Metal Dave, who's on tour with them right now in Europe. We were all walking through, and he's pointing out every detail that he's put into this, all the love he's poured into this, and it was. I hate to keep saying this, but say it again. It's such an honor to be able to experience this on that level, and to
Yeah.
get to know these people as people, and not just the superstars that everybody fawns over, but
Sure.
on this one-on-one level, like we're speaking right now.
Right.
It's
Right.
it was really amazing.
Speaking of Mike, he runs that club down there where this video was shot at
Yes.
the Blue Nile there. That's first time I've ever been to New Orleans down in the French Quarters or any of that. And but to me, it was you could see some cool stuff in there, just paintings, the bar, the way the bar's set up. That's actually where we
Oh, yeah.
recorded that our podcast and that music videos where we're talking
Right.
the Blue Nile. But he runs that club,
He
and
does.
I suppose now what's obviously is Mardi Gras is huge, right? That's going on right now, right?
Full blown right now, yes.
So do you go down and do you ever hang out with Mike then where you get access to the top and all that?
Not at the Blue Nile. I do very little work in the French Quarter.
Uh-huh.
I have a lot of bands that want me to cover down there. It really depends on where it's at, what time of day. The city needs to do a lot of work. I'll
Yeah.
say it like that. We've been in the news recently for a lot of stuff. There's a lot of occurrences that happen down in the French Quarter, especially late at night, that I can't risk taking equipment down there to work.
No.
Mike and I do work together quite a bit, especially at some of the local clubs. Um, it's always great to see him. The work he puts out is impeccable. He's
Yeah.
always done great work. I've admired his work for years. Um, it's good to be able to work with quality people that know their craft.
Right. Yeah. And it's just but there again, a cool club that he runs.
Oh, it
And
is, no doubt. Very unique.
Well, with that, Charles, I'll let you out of here, and it's nice catching up with you and seeing you again. You know, if I put you remember Gary who was down there with me.
Oh yeah,
If I put you two next to each other, you guys could almost pass for brothers. I mean, it's pretty spot on. I just was just looking at that. I was like, holy shit, and when Gary has his full grown out
right.
goatee, and there's times he'll come up on his four-wheeler with the shots of Fireball and add on backwards, and yeah, you guys could pass for fucking brothers.
It was funny. I've kind of created like a signature look. The hat, the glasses, the beard.
Yeah.
I had a guy send me a private message a couple months ago. He was at a show and said so many people coming up to him, telling him hi and how you doing and what you up to. Where's the camera? And he finally realized that these people thought he was me. And he sent me a message that it was a great opportunity for him to like mingle with people. So many people coming up to him at the show. And I'll send you a picture of him later. But it's
Yeah.
almost like looking into a mirror.
Yeah.
It's fun, being in the videos with the bands and being up front on stage with them. I'm starting to get that notoriety, and I'm enjoying it. I'm being 100% honest. I have, since I was a teenager, wanted to be a musician. I've had a guitar since I was probably 10 to 12 years old. Still have one today. I got two today. Still can't play them. I absolutely suck as a musician. I've got rhythm, I've got beat, I've got no knowledge on how to make a chord work. And that's what I love about being a music photographer. It keeps me in front of the action. It keeps me with the people that I love. Keep me in front of this music that I can't get enough of. But the fans are starting to know who I am as well. We were in Mescalero at the Down show. Some random guy comes up to me, man, he said, I see you in all the videos. It's good to see you out here. And I was like, dude, you see me in the video. I'm in there for like 2 seconds. How are you seeing me? but thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it's
You know,
fun.
and
It's a
and
great trip. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to do this as long as I possibly can, as long as they'll let me,
yeah,
and I'm along for the ride.
you know, and people that seen my TikTok video of that guitar that was used in the video,
Yes.
and that I brought down there, and anyway, that pick you actually gave a guitar pick to Kenny that he used in the music video that he actually just left on the guitar. So I just how it looks in that framed up is how it was just left right off the stage.
Okay.
And
And I love that. And I love you showed that in your video. While we were standing around at the video shoot, Kenny was showing a guitar pick that he had acquired, showing it to Johnny Kelly, and I was like, "That's pretty cool." But again, this is my wife's idea. I
uh-huh.
can't tell you how many shows I've been backstage. The guitarist gets ready to go on stage and says, "Damn, has anybody got a pick?" How does a guitarist not have a pick in his pocket?
Yeah,
So my wife's like, "You need to put your face and your calling card on a guitar pick and give them out to these guys when they ask." So that's what I've done.
yeah,
That's a guitar pick. That's my information on the back of it.
yeah.
I give one of these to Kenny Hickey while we're just standing around shooting. I said, I bet you don't have one like this. I had no idea he used it in the video.
Oh, really? I thought you
Yeah,
did.
I didn't know that's what he was using. Yeah, I think it's cool. And then you framed it with the guitar that he had signed, and I thought that was even cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I appreciate you doing that.
Well, like I said, you know, it's just a cool experience to been able to do that, and just the
Yes,
story behind it now. It
right.
you know, it's something that will be my son's one day, you know,
Oh
and
yeah,
you know, just the story that goes with it is just, I think, cool as hell to me. But
and my kids have told me for decades now that, Dad, whenever you go, everybody will know what you've seen, but nobody will
yeah,
know what you look like. So that's why I started using my face as my logo.
uh-huh,
It's on my T-shirts, my guitar picks, my cards. You know, I want them to have some type of, I'm not going to call it a legacy, but something to remember me by. After
right,
Dad goes, see all these cool people he worked with and things he did, and kind of be proud of it.
yeah, you know, and that's where on the racing side of things, because my dad was so well known in the racing world,
Right.
and I went with him everywhere. I got to know these guys so well in racing too, and so to be able to do some of that and carry on some of that, and it's just a fan aspect, right? I'm just a
Oh, it
fan of
is.
the sport, and for
Yep.
me, I honestly couldn't tell you the rules for engines this or what's running this or any. I mean, I know how to grind a tire and fucking do that shit, but
Right.
as far as anything else goes, I just, you know, I'm there as a fan and help out, you know, with the little bullshit that I can,
All day
and
long. These guys tell me all the time, man, your pictures look great.
yeah,
I was like, I appreciate it. I said, but I push a button. Y'all make it look good.
yeah,
Y'all put the work in. Y'all are the ones who make this look good.
yeah,
Who's there to record the moment.
yeah. And that's what I, you know, that's where I got into with race. That's how I got into doing this, but I wanted to tie the music aspect of it. So by you paying that compliment to me, I mean, that toned me down, but I want to tell you, I want to get you out of here on this is, um, when we got done with that podcast, you came up to me and I'll will never forget this as long as I live. I want you to remember this is you came up to me and you patted me on the back and you go, that's probably one of the best interviews I've seen in a long time that was professional, da da da. Da. And you
Absolutely.
couldn't believe the weight of the world was like off my back because you don't know, you know what I mean? You don't know what you're getting here. You just got doing something like this for the first time, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
who you're dealing with, like you said, I mean, you're talking some of the best in this genre of music.
Yep.
And I didn't want to fuck it up. And I was worried, you know, all right, how did it sound? Was it, you know, was it good? Was the questions asked right? You know, did it flow nice? and all that. And for you to say
It did
that
very
when it
well.
was all done, you can't believe how much respect I have for you on that, just because,
Thank you.
um,
And I meant
you
every
just
word of
don't,
it.
you don't hear that every day. You know what I mean? And,
I do.
so it's just kind of,
I
it's
do
kind of
know what you
nice.
mean.
It's kind of nice, a professional aspect of that. So,
Cool. And I invite everybody to go check that video out. It's I'll let you put the information up there, maybe put a link into it. But great interview with Sun Don't Shine.
yeah, our podcast that we did with them.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And you did some of the pictures behind the scene and that for me too, which thank
Yep.
you again for those. But, well, you got a car honking behind you there. Are you in a drive through there? Are you waiting for your burger?
No, I'm good. I'm actually on
Fucking,
heading out to another location right now. I just pulled over so we could do this,
yeah.
and I'm gonna keep
No,
on driving.
I'm just messing with you. I was gonna, yeah, I actually, what I was gonna do is at the end or in the middle of what you were saying, I was gonna interrupt you and be like, "Hey, there's someone behind you honking. Are you in a drive-through there?" Or, but anyway, man, is good catching up with you.
Always.
Hopefully see each other soon, and maybe here in June. It may sound like what Spalding was saying, and
That's the plan right now. Yes,
I look forward. He's going to come out to Vegas and that with us, and with
that's gonna be
Gary and
great,
I,
man.
and
I expect some pictures.
excited for that. What's that?
So I expect some pictures.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I'm actually looking at one of them new DJI threes.
Can't beat them.
Um,
Great product.
and I have those little mics, that you could hook up. It's the magnet
Right.
mics. And speaking of which, I was actually going to bring them down to New Orleans with me. And when we did curbside check-in at the airport, I left them on the fucking ticket counter.
Oh no way.
That's $400. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that sucks.
And you have that moment when you're sitting on the plane, and Gary could tell you this. We're sitting on the plane, we're having a Jack and Coke, and I looked at him and I said, "I'm fucked." And he goes, "What do you mean you're fucked?" I said, "I'm fucked." And he goes, "With what?" And I said, I just realized I left my DJI little mics on the fucking
Wow.
ticket counter when we did the curbside check-in."
Somebody's enjoying those. I hope they know what they got.
Yeah. And right away, so when we landed, they told me the website to go to file missing thing in case someone did turn them in.
Right.
And I did it right away. But do you think anybody turned them in? No. I mean, $400 mics just fucking pissed down the drain.
Wow.
And but anyway, I was looking at one of those new DJI threes, those pocket threes, and
Yeah.
from the guy who helps me do a bunch of edits, Chris Cox. It's Chris Cox
Okay.
Gaming. He's been using it. He loves it. So it's like,
Cool.
well, this would be kind of cool just to have on the spot.
Just professional tech talk. DJI is doing great stuff out there. I think they far surpassed the GoPros and everything else now.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a teeter totter with them going back and forth. But right now, if I had to choose, I'd choose the DJI.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
we'll get a
The
sponsorship from them.
yeah, yeah, DGI, if you're listening to this, there's three of
Absolutely.
us that could testify to this. Chris
Rose
Cox
Life Photography
Gaming.
at gmail.com.
What we need to do is next year we need to go to the NAM show together.
I'm going.
Are you?
Yeah, my wife and I have already just made plans to show up next year.
I think I'm going to too.
Let me know, dude. We'll hit it together.
Yeah, and Tommy Bolin, who I know on a personal friend level, who is a guitar player for Warlock.
Yeah.
Um, he's got his thing now going with NYC, which is the
Okay.
members of Autograph and
Right.
Metal Church. And anyway, he's always welcomed me with his the credentials that he gets. And so I
Yep.
thought, Price, I need to do it one of these. So I think I'm just going to do it this next year. And
Let's do it, man. Let's make it a plan.
yeah, that'd be cool.
Get Andrew on
Just
board and we'll just make a group trip out there.
yeah. Well, in all reality, I mean, because I could I could promote and try to get sponsored, just what sponsorships I can for the music side of it, to
Sure.
keep my thing going, and potential other guests even, you know what I mean? And
Right.
so it just makes sense to go, I would think of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, it was good catching up with you.
Always.
Take care, and can't wait to see you out and about again when I do. And
You better say
yeah.
hi.
Oh, yeah. I mean, why wouldn't I? You know me, Christ, I'll talk to anybody.
Right.
That's the sad thing with this is you could go on for 2 to 3 hours and people fall asleep to just to you.
Just keep on talking. Everybody's quit watching now,
So Justin Yeager, who's a big time racer with IMCA, I was taking him back to the airport after Boone one night, and there's the Boone Nationals going on. So keep in mind, it's about an hour and a half from Boone to Des Moines, Iowa.
Right.
And it's probably like 3:30, 4:30 in the morning, taking him back to the airport. And he's carrying on a conversation with me. And then I just start rambling on. And I look over and you can just tell he's sleeping. Then he'd be like, he'd wake up quick and just go, "Oh, yeah, shit." or, "Oh, fuck.
That's great.
And he's just falling, I was going on just about the most bullshit thing you could ever imagine.
Sounds like my wife. I'll be talking to her on the couch. She's like half asleep. I'm all into music. She's like,
But anyway, take care, man. Look forward to seeing you out and about, and appreciate you
Absolutely.
letting me use some of your pictures. I'll have fun with those now that I got some
Always.
of your permission with using it. But take care, and appreciate the follows. If you guys get a chance, I'll share the links and all that with this podcast for Charles Dye Photography. Check his stuff out. It's some killer stuff, and you
Thank
can
you.
see even his images on the new single for the Sun Don't Shine CD and record that just came out. That's his photography work on the backside of that. And yeah, so with that, thanks Tom's fishing and guiding service out of Nebraska, and of course thanks Gary, and everyone that watches and listens to the program and follows us on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. I appreciate everybody. Again, Charles, thanks for the love today. And
Thank you,
until
brother,
next
man. Always.
time, toodaloo, buckaroo.
Get ready to crank up the volume because you're about to enter the realm of rebels and rock stars. Unleashing the thunder from down under the stage. We're diving deep with a deviance of melody, rhythm, and chaos. Now push up your sleeves and get ready to dive into the pit. It's time for Sitting with the Slimy Bastards, Music Edition.